28 seconds.
27.
26.
25 seconds.
24. 23.
22 seconds.
21 seconds.
22 seconds.
19.
18. 17 seconds.
16.
15 seconds.
14.
13 seconds.
12. 11.
10 seconds. 9.
8. 7. 6.
Copy.
5 seconds.
3, 2, 1.
Hi folks, happy Star Trek Day. Welcome to Subspace Chatter. We're boldly going to discussing Star Trek. As usual, a panel of co-hosts are joining this discussion. So let's introduce ourselves.
Hi, my name's Montalban. I'm from the YouTube channel The Vault, where we have a Star Trek The Next Generation podcast every Wednesday.
Hi, I'm Captain Mike. I am from the Facebook group Star Trek Early Voyages, as well as Worlds of Tomorrow, also with the Xenomorphing Alien podcast. Quite extensive in terms of the media channels these days. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Hi, I'm Glenn Iverson. I came out the same year the original series did, and I've been a fan since before I was born.
Hi, I'm Lisa Clank. I was a writer for Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Voyager, and I have a short story in the current issue of Star Trek Explorer magazine.
Wow.
Hi, I'm Dan Lackey. As you can see from the screen, editor of WarpFactoryTrack.com and former longtime admin of Boundary Alpha. So this is the 56th anniversary of Star Trek in general and the original series in particular. Like talking about Star Trek in general, like what do you feel Star Trek has meant either to yourself or in general over the past 56 years?
I can go first. It was a very formative thing for me in terms of my science fiction, hobbies. It was one of the things that really drew me into the whole thing. I came from stuff when I was really young, like Transformers and He-Man, which had sci-fi elements, but Star Trek brought me right into full-on science fiction fandom. So I really appreciated the movies in the 80s. I grew up with them and, brought me right into combing the video stores and checking out anything that was science fiction after that. So it definitely was something I found was really formative in getting into science fiction. And nowadays I'll watch anything once just to check it out. I mean, quality wise, what I think after, well, everything's subjective in entertainment, so that's up to a person really when they find out if they like something or not. But yeah, it definitely gave me a strong push into loving visions of the future or the past, depending on the science fiction, the way it's aimed story-wise. But I mean, yeah, Star Trek was definitely something that's very imaginative. It's an incredible exercise in science fiction world building. Like, I can't help but appreciate the IP to this day. I've always been a fan, and I think I always will be.
Similar sort of thing, really. I grew up with watching reruns of the original series, and I just loved those sort of 60s sci-fi programs like Lost in Space and Land of the Giants and Star Trek. And Star Trek was always my favorite. And I just grew up with it. And when TNG finally came out, I was sort of hit teenage years then, and I just became obsessed with TNG. And I had like every VHS of TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyage. I had a whole wall of Star Trek videos, and there wasn't a piece of wall that didn't have a Star Trek poster on it. I was just absolutely obsessed. And the comics and the books and the manuals and the magazines and the uniforms, and basically if it had Star Trek on it, I had to own it. And it's just stuck with me my whole life, really. And recently, I mean, up to the point where I had children, and then I kind of forgot about Star Trek for a while, and now they're teenagers themselves, and sort of partly introducing them to Star Trek and kind of got me back into it again. And so, yeah, now I'm talking about it all the time. But yeah, that was my journey with Star Trek. Glenn?
Yeah, well, as I said, I was born the same year as Star Trek, so my mother actually got me into it. She was watching it while I was born. And yes, that's how old I am. And when I started watching it in syndication, I was fascinated with the entire idea of the more positive vision of the future as opposed to the apocalyptic vision we've been seeing in other sci-fi shows. And I was particularly fascinated with the character of Spock, and his love of computers is what got me into studying computers, and that's where my career went from that point on. I actually went into IT as a career, and that career actually led me back to finding Vic Mignogna and getting a chance to be on the set of Star Trek Continues, which I tell you, I felt like a kid in a candy store when I was on the set. I actually felt like I could feel the deck plates when I was in the engine room, and I could hear the sounds off the bridge. And yeah, Star Trek has shaped pretty much who I am as a person.
To paraphrase the Jemadar, Star Trek is life.
Exactly.
Well, for me, obviously, it's shaped my professional career. But I was a fan even before I started writing for Voyager. I was a fan of Next Generation, is really kind of what sucked me into it. And that's how I found out even that I could possibly get a writing gig. I was at a convention and went to a panel on writing for Star Trek, and Brandon Braga and Ron Moore were on this panel, and they said that if you send in a spec script, somebody will read it. So I wrote a spec script and I sent it in, and what do you know, somebody read it. And they called me in to pitch stories, and I eventually sold one to Deep Space Nine and then got on staff at Voyager. So that was really my entry into professional writing. As I said, I started as a fan, and that's what led me into Star Trek and writing in general.
Cool.
Amazing.
Well, if you had to select a favorite Star Trek film over the past 56 years, which one would you select?
Star Trek 6. There's not even a moment of hesitation saying that for me. I like conspiracy movies, and then just lop that together with Star Trek. Oh, wow, you've got me. Nicholas Meyer did a great job with it. I love the way he spices scripts with the Shakespearean, like he does it in Wrath of Khan as well. And just, yeah, it's, that movie had such an amazing, it had a dark edge to the whole thing with this running conspiracy. And Kim Cattrall was just great as this guesting character coming in, Valeris, and shifting motives, and then the way they kind of smoke her out and find out about what's going on with the conspiracy, and then track down what's going on at the end, and then they go have that amazing battle with the Klingon Bird of Prey with the prototype cloaking device or whatever, and, and then you get Sulu Kona with the Excelsior, and it was a really great way to close off the TOS films, especially after The Final Frontier wasn't really the best movie really for closing out the TOS adventures. So it was really great. It was a fun ride with that movie, and I remember seeing it as a kid, in theater and loving it so much, and getting the tape and just playing it front and back, adding it to that set of spine scene tapes that they had that made the Enterprise and everything. Is an absolute thrill to have that movie in my collection. I was like, now my set's complete. I was overjoyed with that movie. I couldn't get enough of it.
I'm not going to say Star Trek 6. I will just say hello to Karen and Mickey in chat. Hi guys, thanks for joining. I will say Star Trek 2. It's a bit of an obvious one, I guess. But I do love the two Nicholas Myers films. Similar reasons as Mike's already said. I just love the references to the Moby Dick references and the Shakespeare references. They're just very powerful films. I would say special mention to Star Trek 4. I love Star Trek 4. I think if they'd got the composer back, forgotten his name now, it's left my brain box.
I think it's Rosman or
Leonard Rosenman.
I think so. Yeah.
The music guy from Star Trek 2 and 3.
Nicholas. Or wait, no.
No, come on.
Oh, I got this one.
No.
I can think of it. James Horner.
Yes, James Horner. I think if they got James Horner back for Star Trek 4 and it had a James Horner score, I think that would have lifted 4 for me. I just think it's a really fun film. It's lots of great Star Trek moments, lots of great interaction with the cast, but I think the scores lets it down. It's not as epic as the first two, and as a trilogy, it would have worked better if they all had the same. But yeah, Star Trek 2 is going to be my choice.
Now, see, I had the opposite view of the music because I thought that the whimsical music of the Star Trek 4 is what actually made the film. It was meant to be more lighthearted. It was meant to lift everybody's spirits. In terms of epic space battles, that sort of thing, it was not a typical Star Trek we're used to seeing. It actually paid more attention to the camaraderie between the characters. The humor was able to come out more. And we got a really good glimpse into the 80s for people who have never seen it before. Yes, it really was like that.
Yeah.
So for me, Star Trek 4 is always the best because no matter what kind of mood I'm in, it's always going to lift my spirits.
I'm going to go with the classic Star Trek 2. I'm a Wrath of Khan fan. And I think because it had the best villain, that was something that I thought was a flaw in the first movie, was that we didn't really have a clear sort of dynamic bad guy. We didn't quite know what the hell we were fighting. And I thought that Khan was really the perfect match for Kirk, being as smart and being as, skilled and really somebody that you thought maybe could beat us.
I think my favorite is still Star Trek Into Darkness. So I think it's great that you see like such a powerful ship in the USS Vengeance. You've got like not one, not two, but 3 villains, with the Klingons, Khan and Admiral Marcus. I love the music as well, and the directing and cinematography, the themes of making sure that we don't lose our moral goodness. I know it's sort of an unpopular choice, but yeah, it's been my favorite for a long time. Like thinking back into how Star Trek started, I wondered if you have like fond memories of seeing The Man Trap, which is the first episode that was aired.
Mike, do you want?
I can pick it up, sure. And I would say that with The Man Trap, it was something I just really didn't come to until quite a bit later. I think I just came in the middle of some syndication, because like I said, I came from the movies and then started following the TOS threads back into the 60s, and I'm like, oh wow, there's a whole show here to watch. Neat. And it's when it came to the run of those episodes, I don't know, I guess I never really knew The Man Trap was necessarily the first broadcast episode. What was really cool for me finding out, and it's kind of deviating from the question a little bit, but was to find out that there was an unaired pilot with a completely different captain than, Shatner, this fella Jeff Hunter playing Christopher Pike. And I was completely intrigued. I found the tape in a pawn shop and it just floored me. I was like, what's with this? It's cut with black and color, and then it was kind of cobbled together, I guess. And since then we've gotten a full version of that. But yeah, I was really blown away by the cage. But yeah, I didn't really know The Man Trap was the first episode, so I guess that would probably be my take on it. But looking back on it now and seeing it in the run of the series, it worked for me. It was an interesting episode. It was kind of a weird choice for the first broadcast episode. I don't know, because Where No Man has Gone Before, you think that would have been it, because it follows on visually with the same kind of uniform look. They don't have the full division shirts yet and stuff, so they're still using the older shirt styles with only like, you know, a different color scheme to the like departments and stuff. And yeah, it was just interesting how the man trap, you know, like ended up being chosen, even though they did have the pilot, you know, in the can already to use. So it was, you know, interesting choice by the studio.
Cool. I'd like to say hello to Aaron Walke. Thank you for joining us.
Hello,
Aaron,
hello.
you can say your connection to Star Trek.
Well, I am the head writer and co-executive producer of Star Trek Prodigy. Hello,
The
everybody.
Janeway cartoon.
Hi, Lisa. It's been a
Hello.
little while.
Yeah.
And hi, Dan. How are you?
Hi. Good. So, also, hi to Smiley Rainbow in the chat. Who's wished us all happy Star Trek Day. And the question we're currently discussing, like, if you have fond memories of seeing the Man Trap, since it was the first episode of the original series to air.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Most of my memories of TOS, as far as my first encounters with them, were all when I was really young, because they would air them in syndication on my local PBS station, and my family would put them on thinking they'd be educational. So most of my experiences of the original series are very sort of sense memory, like, and it was only later that I had a robust appreciation of them. But I always found that as some of the other folks were saying, the early history of Star Trek, of the fact that they had to make 3 different pilots and then wound up repurposing it into the later episodes, was a very interesting road. And now we obviously have an entire series that's based off of that failed pilot. So it's all very interesting to me.
My memory of the Man Trap, I was born in the 70s, so I didn't get to watch it when it first aired. But after I hit my teens and started my hoarding of Star Trek VHS video cassettes, and I'd accumulated the whole of the TNG and Deep Space Nine, and I was on my way to collecting the Voyager ones. I went to a car boot sale and found a guy selling his whole TOS video collection out the back of his car, and I think I bought the whole lot for about £5 or something like that. He just wanted to get rid of them. And for me, it was like, you know, getting home and opening this dusty VHS cassette tape. It's like, I guess how some people like vinyl records or something like that, just holding the thing and putting in my VHS player and watching the Man Trap for the first time, brought back all those childhood memories of watching Star Trek. 'Cause it had been by that time quite a long time since I'd seen TOS. So yeah, it gave me a really warm sense of childhood, I guess. Yeah.
I actually didn't see them oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Lisa.
Okay, I was just going to say I didn't actually see the Man Trap until I had already started working on Voyager. I had seen a couple of original series episodes over the years, but I really came into it with the Next Generation. And so when I started on Voyager, I kind of wanted to make up my, complete my education in Star Trek. And so I went back and watched the original series episodes. And I remember that I liked the Man Trap.
I actually do remember seeing it as a child, and the salt creature was incredibly scary to me. Actually, the entire episode was wonderfully scary for a child, and I happen to love horror movies, so to me it was fantastic. It was delicious. There was a lot of fun memories. That, of course, seeing it again as an adult, it wasn't quite so scary. It was more just fun and nostalgic. But when I saw it as a kid, the actual the moods, the lighting, everything else, just really gripped me, and it made me want to watch more.
Yeah, I totally relate to those memories of like being totally scared of the Man Trap as a kid, and then less so as an adult. Like, I guess, like finding out and knowing how like TV production is done or was done, I guess, in those days. But still, like really amazing. It doesn't take like away like the reverence of like they made the episodes, I guess. I feel like. Today is also the 49th anniversary of the animated series, so I wondered if you have any favorite memories of watching that particular show.
I can come in right away on it because I did not see it until Netflix put it on its catalog of just in recent history, because like it was so hard to find for the longest time, and then it was like, oh, there it is on Netflix. And so I like sat down and I just watched it all in one solid pass over a couple of days or something. And yeah, I can't help but think it's really interesting because when you look into the history of it, turns out that many of those animated episodes were actually constructed out of script ideas for season 4 if TOS would have continued. So in a capacity, it is more or less like an unofficial season 4, really, more or less, if you're not being picky about it, and the fact that it's Filmation animation, because it uses that limited style. But I loved He-Man, and it wasn't hard to get into that later. I think I've got somewhere up on my shelf the He-Man set, and it's just TAS felt like the same kind of thing. Oh, neat. So it uses like a stock frame setup and then changes things based on circumstances of what's going on in the plot line. And there were some interesting stories in there, though. Definitely, like I can't remember. I think it came up the other while ago. I think it was when Nichelle passed away, actually. God rest her soul. And it was somebody was talking about the Lorelei principle, I think. Is that what it was called? Where all the ladies all have to take the ship over because the men are incapacitated. And Nichelle loved it because she got to be in charge, and this was something that never really happened in live action. So it was like her big moment to shine as the leader of the crew because of the circumstances. And it was really cool actually to see that episode. It was like, hey, neat. Oh, she gets to be in charge of the ship this time. And like, I don't know, I have nothing but like towering respect for that character. I love that character. I love seeing Cadet Uhura on the new Strange New World. So it was cool to hear a story about how, TAS, and seeing that. It's like, oh, wow, she gets to be in charge this episode. And I think there was the one with Spock where he goes into his youth, and DC Fontana wrote that. And it was just terrific writing. And that's been mined a lot since. Like, you see shows, and I think Strange New Worlds and the movies actually dug into yesteryear for information. So TAS was definitely something that, love it or hate it. I think it's important to Star Trek, and I would suggest any fan take a look at it and give it a chance at least.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about yesteryear in particular, that's the one that stuck out to me just because it was so emotionally devastating. And it's only, I think, the second episode of the whole show. So
yeah,
it's like, get ready, kids. Here comes Spock's dead dog. Like,
bye-bye,
it's crazy. Yeah. But also a really sort of sticky, sort of crunchy sci-fi, sort of time loop episode, like a causality time loop where he goes back in time to, rescue himself and ensure that things happen the way they did. It's a really solid episode of Star Trek. And when we were writing Star Trek Prodigy, that was one that we rewatched just to kind of see, how it might work in a half-hour format, obviously the Filmation animation is a little hinky sometimes. And, I think that there's definitely some bold swings they took that didn't quite connect, but there's just as many episodes where you can be genuinely surprised. And, if you kind of squint your eyes, it's almost like you're watching another season of Star Trek, the original series.
Preach.
Yeah, this is another one where I'm going to show my age. I saw it in first run when I was a kid. And when you are a kid, you fill in the blanks. Your imagination fills in the blanks. You don't care about the lousy animation. You care about the stories and you care about the acting. And you're hearing the original voices of the original cast. So to me, that was just another season of Star Trek. So it was wonderful to have.
It was kind of like the fourth season we didn't get. And the only one I remember off the top of my head was the storyline was something about a leftover people from the eugenics war tried to clone Spock to create the ultimate soldier. Infinite Vulcan. That's what it was called.
Yeah, that's the one where you get giant Spock, right?
You get giant Spock. And I just remember that from my childhood, just seeing this, they created giant Spock.
Yeah, my favorite part is when he mind melds with giant Spock and he can't, he's so big, he just uses like his giant finger and touches his forehead.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
I have to admit, I haven't seen all the episodes of the animated series. I've seen a few, again, mostly when I was trying to get some reference for Voyager, but I have not seen all of them yet. Looking forward to it.
Definitely worth checking out, I would say. You have to kind of get on its wavelength. It's very 70s and very Filmation. And there's a few times where, like, I think that at one point Sulu turns and winks at the camera. It's like really bizarre.
Well, what was it? One of those was just crazy. I think, was it Larry Niven wrote it, the slaver weapon? And people are getting killed just flat out a couple times. They mow down a few of them Zinties. And it's just like, wow, whoa, this is pretty heavy. It's like, if they open the box, they could destroy the universe. It's like, whoa.
Yeah. And that's like one of the very few episodes of like either the original series or the animated series that Kirk actually isn't in as well.
Yeah, no doubt.
So we've just had like the broadcast of Star Trek Day. The official live stream was earlier today or yesterday if you're living in the UK, technically. But like during that, it was announced that Prodigy will be returning on the 27th of October. I wondered if you could tell us like where you are in writing that or describe.
Well, I mean, what's exciting and harrowing, I think, especially when it comes to animation, is that it takes a very long time to make it. People sometimes don't realize, even live action with the special effects budgets ever expanding. Obviously, that's starting to come close. But we wrote the first 20 episodes of Star Trek Prodigy all in one go, and that was pretty much the full year of 2019. So all the scripts were written, and then we've just spent the last 2 years producing them one by one. So whenever people are like, "Where's more Prodigy?" I'm just like, "We're making it." Like, it takes a while. It's a very complicated and hard show to make, as you might imagine. I just watched the picture lock, I think, for the season finale, episodes 19 and 20. So there, I think we just have a little bit of mixing and stuff to do, and then those will all be ready to go so they'll be airing all in succession, October 27th through the end of the year. So you'll have no gaps, no hiccups, and just be 10 episodes right in a row, so you can follow the rest of the season 1 journey. What I will say, there's only so much I can say without spoilers. We did reveal our first clip of the outrageous Icona making his triumphant return. So he's in our show as a fun sort of guest star. There's also a few other appearances or suggestions of things that you'll come to see that I think you'll be very excited about. And
can't wait to see Star Trek Han Solo. Yay!
Yeah, we play with that, I will say, and what your expectations might be versus the reality of what a Han Solo character might actually look like in his later years. And we also, we've also written the next 20 as well. So we have 40 episodes written, and they're all in various stages of production. So hopefully, it'll just kind of keep going from here on out now that we figured out the pipeline.
Cool. So before we wrap up this discussion, I wondered if anyone has anything else they'd like to plug.
I just want to say that of all the Star Trek series and movies that I've ever watched, Prodigy has my favorite theme of all time.
Yeah, well, great. you can thank Michael Giacchino and Nami Melamod for that.
I love Prodigy.
I will say I wasn't expecting, because I was thinking Nickelodeon, I thought it's not going to be for me, and we sat down with Smiler Rainbow, my missus there, in chat to watch the first episode, and we ended up watching the entire first series that night. We just got hooked, and then had to complete the whole thing.
Well, that's the best way, I think, to experience the first 10 episodes, because it really is built almost like one long movie. So you can kind of binge it, and we certainly have a lot of cliffhangers in there to encourage you to keep watching. So
I was waiting for Chakotay to make an appearance.
Well, Chakotay, I will say Chakotay is in the show. Don't worry. But I do encourage you to, remember we wrote 40 episodes, so there'll be plenty
I wasn't
of
going to
time
directly ask. I'm not going to ask for spoilers.
I love it.
Yeah, we're only 10 episodes in. Like there's more coming, I promise. And whenever we create a show, whenever we create an episode or a series, we always make a point to, we're not going to drop a cameo character in just to point. Oh my gosh, look, it's Spock's dad. We're always going to be looking towards how they affect the characters. So that's really the ultimate thing to kind of keep in mind. When we introduce a character, they will serve a purpose and not just be a brief blink and you'll miss it cameo.
Well, considering you guys are serializing it heavily, that's good that you make things count like that. That's great.
Yep.
Yeah, it's cost effective too.
Yeah,
I also
save money.
I also appreciate the fact that even though I know Prodigy is geared toward a younger audience and getting them involved, there's so much involved that adults appreciate that I think the writing is phenomenal.
Well, thank you so much on behalf of the entire writing team and production crew. We all work very hard on it, so that's much appreciated.
Well, I definitely think it shows. As I said earlier, I love Prodigy personally. And I'd like to thank all the panelists for joining this discussion. We hope you, our viewers, have enjoyed the special Star Trek Day chat too. Please remember to like and subscribe to this video, and we'll see you next time on Subspace Chatter. Track you later.